Disbelief in futurity loosens in a great measure the ties of morality, and may be for that reason pernicious to the peace of civil society. History is the discovering of the principles of human nature. All knowledge degenerates into probability. Reason is, and ought only to be the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. Reason is, and ought only to be the slave of the passions. Avarice, the spur of industry. I may venture to affirm the rest of mankind that they are nothing but a bundle or collection of different perceptions, which succeed each other with an inconceivable rapidity, and are in a perpetual flux and movement. That I am ready to throw all of my books and papers into the fire, and resolve never more to renounce the pleasure of life for the sake of reasoning and philosophy. The feelings of our heart, the agitation of our passions, the vehemence of our affections, dissipate all its conclusions, and reduce the profound philosopher to a mere plebeian. What would become of history had we not our dependence on the veracity of the historian, according to the experience, what we have had of mankind? I cannot but bless the memory of Julius Caesar for the great esteem he expressed for fat men and his aversion to lean ones. Character is the result of a system of stereotyped principles. In public affairs, men are often better pleased that the truth, though known to everybody, should be wrapped up under a decent cover than if it were exposed in open daylight to the eyes of all the world. No amount of observations of white swans can allow the inference that all swans are white, but the observation of a single black swan is sufficient to refute that conclusion. Eloquence, at its highest pitch, leaves little room for reason or reflection, but addresses itself entirely to the desires and affections, captivating the willing hearers and subduing their understanding. And though the philosopher may live remote from business, the genius of philosophy, if carefully cultivated by several, must gradually diffuse itself throughout the whole society, and bestow a similar correctness on every art and calling. Mankind are always found prodigal both of blood and treasure in the maintenance of public justice. Liberty of thinking and of expressing our thoughts is always fatal to priestly power and to those pious frauds on which it is commonly founded. If the religious spirit be ever mentioned in any historical narration, we are sure to meet afterwards with a detail of the miseries which attend it, and no period of time can be happier or more prosperous than those in which it is never regarded or heard of. The great charm of poetry consists in lively pictures of the sublime passions, magnanimity, courage, disdain of fortune, or those of the tender affections, love and friendship, which warm the heart, and diffuse over it similar sentiments and emotions. It is not reason which is the guide of life, but custom. Liberty is a blessing so inestimable that, wherever there appears any probability of recovering it, a nation may willingly run many hazards, and ought not even to repine at the greatest effusion of blood or dissipation of treasure. Morals excite passions and produce or prevent actions. Reason of itself is utterly impotent in this particular. The rules of morality, therefore, are not conclusions of our reason. No quality of human nature is more remarkable, both in itself and in its consequences, and that propensity we have to sympathize with others, and to receive by communication their inclinations and sentiments, however different from, or even contrary to our own. Explanation is where the mind rests. Fine writing, according to Mr. Addison, consists of sentiments which are natural without being obvious. Between married persons, the cement of friendship is by the laws supposed so strong as to abolish all division of possessions and is often, in reality, the force ascribed to it. I resolved to make a very rigid frugality supply my deficiency of fortune, to maintain unimpaired my independency, and to regard every object as contemptible except the improvement of my talents in literature. There is a great difference between historical facts and speculative opinions, nor is the knowledge of the one propagated in the same manner with that of the other. In all the events of life, we ought still to preserve our skepticism. If we believe that fire warms, or water refreshes, it is only because it costs us too much pains to think otherwise. When I hear that a man is religious, I conclude he is a rascal. And what is the greatest number? Number 1. There is, indeed, a more mitigated skepticism or academical philosophy, which may be both durable and useful, and which may, in part, be the result of this Pyrrhonism, or excessive skepticism, when its undistinguished doubts are corrected by common sense and reflection. It is well known that every government must come to a period, and that death is unavoidable to the political as well as to the animal body. We learn the influence of our will from experience alone, and experience only teaches us how one event constantly follows another, without instructing us in the secret connection which binds them together and renders them inseparable. When men are most sure and arrogant, they are commonly most mistaken. Anything that is conceivable is possible. Curiosity, or the love of knowledge, has a very limited influence, and requires youth, leisure, education, genius, and example to make it govern any person. The heights of popularity and patriotism are still the beaten road to power and tyranny. Jealousy is a painful passion, yet without some share of it, the agreeable affection of love has difficulty to subsist in its full force and violence. Everything is sold to skill and labor, and where nature furnishes the materials, they are still rude and unfinished, till industry, ever active and intelligent, refines them from their brute state, and fits them for human use and convenience. The end of all moral speculations is to teach us our duty, and, by proper representations of the deformity of vice and beauty of virtue, beget correspondent habits, and engage us to avoid the one, and embrace the other. Does a man of sense run after every silly tale of hobgoblins or fairies, and canvass particularly the evidence? I never knew anyone that examined and deliberated about nonsense who did not believe it before the end of his inquiries. When I am convinced of any principle, it is only an idea which strikes more strongly upon me. When I give the preference to one set of arguments above another, I do nothing but decide from my feeling concerning the superiority of their influence. A mind whose acts and sentiments and ideas are not distinct and successive, one that is wholly simple and totally immutable, is a mind which has no thought, no reason, no will, no sentiment, no love, No hatred, or, in a word, is no mind at all.